about to pop.
But enough of that noise.
Time for the B-roll, boys.
And welcome to another cringeworthy episode of the B-roll boys. It's me, it's your boy Wes, and here I'm joined as always my other boys, Justin.
What's up?
And my boy Harlan.
Hi.
That was
meek.
That was great. All right. So this week I felt like I would give my boys, an incredible test of resolve. I challenged their minds and, dare I say, their hearts. And I'm surprised they haven't broke quarantine to come and murder me yet. I made them watch 2000's Battlefield Earth. Did you guys enjoy that?
No.
Oh, Harlan, did you enjoy that?
No.
I'm gonna break quarantine to lick toilet seats.
I mean, I hate to jump the gun here, but I think this movie might suck.
What? I thought I was picking a great movie.
I think this is the worst one.
Yeah, agreed. This is probably. I think it's worse than what would you say is the next, like Jupiter Ascending?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
This was astonishing.
This was shockingly bad. I honestly thought this was like a sci-fi original kind of thing.
Yeah, it seems like it.
The graphics in it look... I mean, the graphics in sci-fi original movies look better now, for sure, than they did in Battlefield Earth, but it's really close. It is so close.
I mean, I think a sci-fi original then would have looked better than this.
Yeah, I've seen some rough shit.
With such greats as Komodo versus Cobra, are you saying that looked better than Battlefield Earth?
Like, the most distracting thing of this was that I'd say 90% of the shots are some sort of Dutch angle, where it's like almost 45 degrees off kilter in some way, so the horizons are never level.
Yeah, it's kind of it'll I think it'll give a lot of people a headache, like all the Dutch angles in this movie. It's really fucking annoying.
You may not notice it at first, but when someone points it out to you, that's all you can see, because it's not even exaggerating. It's like 95% of the shots in this movie, and they keep transitioning back between angles too.
Wes, you pointed it out to me like 5 minutes into this movie. You were like, these Dutch angles are going to annoy you, and I said I probably wouldn't have noticed if you hadn't said anything. But then 5 minutes later, I was like, no, I would have noticed by now. Like, even I would have caught on to this. This is fucking annoying as hell.
Bad.
I noticed it whenever there's an element in the background. Like, there's a part where our main character, Sniper from Saving Private Ryan, he's our rousing lead here. And he's running through a hallway, and because there's the two vertical walls, and they're both, like, at an angle, I definitely would have picked up on it then, even if you hadn't told me at that point. But if it's just like a close-up on someone's face, you can't really tell as much. But then what you can tell is that they keep like panning the camera around the person. Like, they'll orbit the actor while they're talking, even if it's just a stationary scene. And it's really distracting, and it's kind of like motion sickness inducing.
And I don't know if they did that. Like, I really hate to say that maybe they did that as like an artistic choice. But it had to be just because they were trying to portray like the aliens in the movie to be like 8-9 feet tall, and maybe the angle helped with that a little bit. But I don't know why they would decide to do that, at least for every single scene. Maybe they tried it.
That was at least part of it, but yeah.
maybe they tried it at first, and they're like, you know what, this is actually cool. We'll film almost the entire movie like this.
Yo, can we talk about the aliens though? The Cyclos, as it were.
Oh, of course.
This is the ugliest character design I've ever seen.
It's
no,
the
second close, because Cats is still worse.
Yes, but like this is like, I don't know why, I don't know who fucking signed off on these creature / character / costume designs and was like, yep, that's an iconic look. Like, people are gonna remember this. Like, people are gonna want to cosplay this.
I would cosplay this if I could find some of their gigantic fucking Hagrid boots.
I guess we should describe it for our listeners. The Cyclos, the baddies, they're like 10 feet tall, although it's kind of hard to tell that in a lot of the shots.
They look like Klingons.
Yeah, yeah. They don't have like they don't always have all the wrinkles, but they have like giant heads that make it really hard to take them seriously. That doesn't do anything for their intimidation.
Their heads are shaped like the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull heads, like from Indiana Jones, but they are covered in dreadlocks, and they got like these neck beard goatee things that are like 2 feet long. Like it's just strands of hair that come out of their neck.
Yeah, like little Fu Manchu stashes, but out of their neck.
And like almost every single character has them.
I wonder if they thought that would catch on.
Maybe they were trying to go for a style. I mean,
this is another fucking movie where I look at this and I'm like, they were trying to set up a franchise.
Though they definitely were. So this movie, just for a little bit of backstory here, it was written by L. Ron Hubbard. It was a book. It came out in 1982, and you know, L. Ron Hubbard, he founded Scientology. John Travolta is a very vocal member of Scientology. I guess as vocal as you can be about it.
One of the pillars.
So, like, as soon as L. Ron Hubbard wrote this, he like really wanted it to be a movie, and they actually tried in the 80s, but then they lost all funding after he died in 86, which is, you know, it's understandable.
That's weird.
And then, so Travolta, he did not have enough star power, like, whatsoever until Pulp Fiction. And even after Pulp Fiction, it took him another 5 years to try and get this movie made. They made all kinds of budget cuts, and he even put in $5 million, I think, of his own money to get this up to an $80 million budget. And I don't know if how much you guys like looked into this, but he basically had like his Scientology like harem in fucking Hollywood stalk these producers until they're like, okay, we'll give you the fucking money, just leave us alone. And like that's pretty much how it got made.
So we can make back a third of that.
The best part is the main way that he would pitch it is like, it's like Star Wars but better. Or he also said that this is like Pulp Fiction set in the year 3000.
What universe is this like Pulp Fiction? There's nothing like this here. This is a shitty Planet of the Apes ripoff with a Star Trek coat of paint.
I don't know how much further from the truth that could have been.
This is that is a part of one of the trivia facts I was gonna bring up later. John Travolta did say while promoting the film that it was like Star Wars: A New Hope, but better. He also said that the movie he referred to the film as the Schindler's List of science fiction films.
That's one I did not stumble across.
Are you fucking kidding me?
According to IMDb.
He put this and Schindler's List in the same sentence.
Like, it's
not even 10 years removed.
It would be hilarious if it wasn't so fucking tragic, because John Travolta, he loves L. Ron Hubbard, and he really wanted this to be great, and he sunk $5 million of his own money into it. Like, you kind of got to feel bad for him, but at the same time, he's
That's some Tommy Wiseau shit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my god, I had no idea behind like the expansive lore of all this.
Yeah, with such a shitty movie, right? It's got 2.5 on IMDb. It's got 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's one of the worst movies ever made.
That's a generous 3%.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, did you know that it kept like the most Razzie wins in a single year for like 20 years?
Really?
It was nominated for 8 Razzies and it won 7 of them. And also, so it came out in 2000.
Deserved.
In 2010, it won another Razzie for being the worst movie of the decade. So 10 years worth of movies came out since it was made.
Yeah, it's hard to top, man. This is, I mean, we all said earlier that like this is the worst movie that we've watched. But I like for the podcast. I mean, and I knew that at the 12-minute mark. I wrote it down in my notes. Like we were 12 minutes into this movie, and I was like, "This is the worst movie that I've watched for this podcast so far." Like, and that's kind of commendable, I guess.
Yeah, you have no idea
to know that early. You know,
you have no idea how proud I am to hear you say that, because I don't know how you guys are going to top this one. Like you're gonna have to actively try.
On my wheel of death, where I select my movies, I don't think I have a movie that's worse than this. So it's uphill from here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like 10 minutes in, Harlan was like, "Are we really watching this? Like this? I don't know if I can sit through 2 hours of this."
He begged me. He pleaded. He wrapped his little fisties around my ankles.
I should also address, dear listeners, you may have noticed that we're not running through the plot step by step. It's because there's not really much to go through. We can really describe the plot in 1 to 2 sentences.
It's Planet of the Apes, but the humans win.
Yeah, like there's not really anything else to it. It's
pretty much. So like it's the year 3000. Sometime in that time, the Cyclos, the alien invader race, they gas the planet. Apparently, the whole planet gets conquered. It was either 6 or 8 minutes. The humans had no idea what was going on.
It was a 9-minute fight.
It was 9 minutes. Okay, so
Yeah,
the humans escaped into the forest where the nukes weren't, and some of them survived. And now the alien species is basically like, I guess they're like a mining company. They're just like it's like a race of aliens that's like a corporation. They kind of just like always portray that. They always talk about like sending shit to home office, and like they just talk about business shit like the whole time.
Yeah,
It's almost like thinking like trade embargoes or something was cool in a sci-fi movie.
I like that their home
where they got
base
that.
is essentially just called Home Office, and that just makes me think of Microsoft Office.
Yeah, they
Is it
never
right?
actually name the world. They either call it Home Office, or whenever they show it, don't they literally just call it the Cyclos planet or the Cyclos home planet at the bottom? Like they never actually name it.
What was Planet Ship? I heard them say that a few times.
That was the title of one of the guys. Like one of the.
What?
I think that was that
think
the
it's like
neck
a-
guy. I think that was the neck guy, the one with the giant like flabbing tit hanging off of his chin.
Oh, the
Yeah,
fat
I
guy
think
from
that's,
Jack and Extra too.
I think it's basically like a Pathfinder. I guess they're like in charge with scouting shit. I don't
Yeah,
fucking know.
that's his- his
That's the only
title.
thing I could associate him with.
Planet
Um,
ship. I want to
but
be
yeah.
called. I want to be called City Car.
So they enslave these. But yeah, they pretty much just enslave the humans for profit somehow to send to their home planet, and then the humans. There's a smart one which is like has like 2 IQ points smarter than the rest of
Yeah,
them.
they keep saying
And-
that he's smarter than everyone, and I don't see what makes him smarter. Like
He's just like another
Yeah,
guy.
I mean,
he
he's just like
he gets into shit, but it doesn't really feel like a result of him being more intelligent. Like it's just him being the main character.
yeah, it's like 1,000 years, and it's just like he's just a normal dude. He's just like a leader type. So he just like leads them against the aliens. Surprise! They kill the aliens, and then that's it. Literally, that's the whole movie.
Yeah.
But everything in between is just so fucking god awful.
Well, a trick that they pull early on that it took me a second to catch this, and then they later explain it, which I don't understand why you couldn't just explain this in the moment. But so both sides, you've got the Cyclos and the humans are both speaking English, but they can't understand each other. So whenever the humans are in a scene with the Cyclos, they have like this Halo 1 elite speak where they're like, "Wart."
And
And
their
they
voices
pitch-
like pitch shifted.
Yeah, they pitch
It's
shift their
super
voices, and they just have like this alien gobbledygook language, but then when the aliens are talking to each other, they're just speaking in English. And then halfway through, they get Saving Private Ryan guy to sit in. Again, this is just ripping off the Matrix, where they like beam information into his eyes, and then he can speak their language.
Yeah, like literally, it's like a Matrix chair mixed with Cerebro. And like, why couldn't they have taken the humans and taught them skills anyway?
Yeah, like they still because if they were worried about them becoming too intelligent, like they still presumably they can like dial back the intelligence that they beam into their head. So surely you can probably like control that, and they still would have superior technology. So.
Yeah, it's really weird, like the line that they draw for these guys, because it's like they've mastered intergalactic space travel. They can make spaceships, but they don't know what a toothbrush is.
But like, it doesn't give them more intelligence, though. All it does is just give them more knowledge. Like, it teaches them history, where like the main guy at one point is looking at he's inspired by the Declaration of Independence. Subtle. Thanks, movie. And then they just teach him like human history and all this different stuff, but like that's not it doesn't improve his thought process. Like, he's still the same guy. He just,
Yeah.
I guess he just
Wasn't actually
majored in
how
American history then.
Well, man, you gotta understand, he was just it just gave him, it boosted his morale. You know, like it gave him the will to fight.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. This movie
gave
was
him
2
hope.
steps ahead of me.
Well, didn't he beam like the knowledge of how to fly their spaceships, though? But then he also like got in like a simulator and taught him as well. So I guess that's, I don't know.
But yeah, like, so, I mean, I know I just said that, like, there are, you know, like, ways you could mitigate the risk of them becoming, like, too intelligent to the point where, you know, the man animals might, you know, overthrow the Cyclos, but, like, it seems like they're actively, like, encouraging it, because, yeah, he's, like, teaching him how to, like, fly these ships and shit, and, like, you know, they're encouraging him to, like, spread the language that they speak, and it feels like they're just arming them, like, begging them to be like, yes, please, revolt. We don't want you.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand why. Because, yeah, the entire deal is that they, meaning John Travolta, is trying to illegally get these humans to mine gold for him because there's radiation on the planet that the Cyclos can't endure and the humans can endure, kind of?
They're like,
kind of like you just send them in there.
vulnerable.
You send them in there to die, I guess. Like, go get the
like,
gold, and whatever happens. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't understand why you need to smarten them up for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they send them down to an army base, where within the course of a week, the humans all train up.
Yeah,
They all learn how to
literally,
fly fighter jets and use weaponry and like coordinate battle strategies. And
Literally a
this
week.
from
They
sticks
say
and rocks
7
within a
days.
week.
And, you know,
because like in the
So-
beginning of the movie, they're cavemen showing cave paintings, and they're like, "Yeah, the the demons came down and smote the earth, and we're gonna wait for the star gods to come and like smite them back." And then a week later, they're flying like fucking spaceships and blowing up planets.
He's like, no way, man. This wasn't some god in the sky. Those are planets, man. This is science.
and then they were like,
Checkmate,
and then, you
atheists.
know, humans are historically known for being really understanding about that kind of thing. So they were like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
well, and
We're going to join you.
like we mentioned earlier, when the Cyclos first, you know, attacked Earth, they said that the humans only were able to fight back for 9 minutes before losing, and that was like the extent of, you know, humans' civilization and advancement in technology. These cavemen have been training for a week, and they managed to do it at the end of the movie. What fully civilized humanity could not.
That's about
Well,
heart.
they never expected it.
Exactly.
They cared
They-
more.
they- yeah,
they had
yeah,
more
they-
of a fighting spirit.
Yeah.
Because
They had rat brains.
yeah, all because what's his name? All because fucking Barry Pepper read the Declaration of Independence and was like, "Hell yeah, bro!"
And it-
Maybe they were onto something.
It is weird that it was just completely left intact, because apparently, like, John Travolta said that they learned everything they ever needed to know about humans, but, like, I guess they didn't scan any of the books. He never said why they knew anything like that.
They
But,
didn't
like,
even
they're...
read the Art of the Deal.
Can we talk about John Travolta in this movie?
Oh, yes, the
It's a
absolute,
weird performance, right? Like,
Is he a good
absolute
actor?
treasure. No.
I don't know.
I think he gets lucky, and he's kind of like Nick Cage. He's very suited to very specific roles. It's like really easy to miscast him, and I think that was definitely the case here. Like Nick Cage, he was fucking amazing in Adaptation, but then you have Snake Eyes, and it's like, whereas here you have Pulp Fiction, then you have Battlefield Earth.
So John Travolta is one of the Cyclos. He's the main baddie of this movie, and he's the only one that has like really messed up teeth, I think.
Oh no,
And-
because do you remember that meeting scene when they were like all
No, I don't.
uncomfortably laughing at Travolta, and it just had zoom in facial shots of like, and everybody had fucked up teeth. Like
Except for
I was,
the one girl with the snake tongue, with the giant like
there's one
CGI
girl-
stretchy tongue, and she's just
Yeah. She just
hot with
exists
a
to
big
like
head.
she just exists to like eat ass, and that's it. But,
yeah, I guess that's a Cyclos trait, is that they have shitty teeth. I don't know why that had to be a thing.
yeah.
Well,
They've
so-
got like
so-
giant boots,
giant boots, like
size 40 boots, dreadlocks, giant like fursuit hands.
Apparently, Travolta was standing on 4-foot stilts. Did he seem that tall to you? He didn't seem that tall to me.
No, there was one scene where it showed a human like actually standing next to one of them, and it was the funniest shit ever. And that changes too throughout the movie, their heights, because in that one scene he was like a solid 4 feet taller than the dude, but sometimes they're a couple of feet. It just like changes through the whole thing.
Yeah, he was like a foot taller.
Yeah, I would have guessed with the height of his hair and everything and his giant head, like I would have guessed maybe he was like 7 feet tall, but apparently he's supposed to be like 10 feet tall.
I don't know. Just like from the most outward shot that I could think of in the movie, it looked like I think they're supposed to be like around 8 feet tall.
I don't know, but the reason I brought up the teeth is because did it sound like Travolta had like a slight lisp because of like the dentures? I couldn't get past it. Like he'd say something and there'd just be like a slight swish.
I thought he had like a changing accent towards the beginning.
You know what's even weirder about that? Like with the changing accent thing, he's trying to do like American and every British accent that exists all at the same time. Like he's trying to have this really just ambiguous accent, like it's supposed to be the year 3000. But then you learn the whole time they were speaking their own language, and their voices are completely different. It's like someone put a voice modulator and like turned down the octave a couple steps, because he doesn't actually sound like that. So the whole accent is just pointless.
Well, and also like they didn't bother like even trying to make what their actual language sounds like, convincing in any way, because when you do hear what they actually sound like to the humans / man animals, it's just like like there's no like consonants. Grunting. Yeah, there's no consonants or vowels. It's just like
then the man animals are like, wait, you can speak the demon tongue?
Yeah, they never touch on that again. Like this, Barry Pepper can speak this after getting his Harvard machine, and once everybody sees that he can speak that language, they're like, oh fuck, he can speak the monster's language.
Dope.
And they seem threatened by that for like 2 seconds, and they just kind of let it go. They're just like, oh, okay, well, he's a guy, so whatever.
You're the guy. Sick callback. Way to reincorporate that.
I wasn't even intending that, but I appreciate it.
That's how meta you are on the inside.
I'm surprised this movie didn't reincorporate leverage, because there are so many points where John Travolta like makes a point to use the word leverage. Like he's always like, oh, a man animal with leverage. A woman with leverage. I've got leverage on you.
That'll be the day.
He says leverage like 40 times in this movie, and I'm like, okay, like there's some kind of like theme that they want to have with leverage, and then it like nothing happens with it. It just like they cage him up and throw him with the gold.
Yeah, by the end, Barry Pepper's got him in that cell, and he's like, I've got leverage over you. It's like, that's not what leverage is. Leverage is getting somebody else to do something for you. You just fucked him over. Like, he's just fucked.
Like,
that's it.
Yeah, they're just leaving him there to die. That's it.
We got you. We won. You lost. That's not leverage.
Speaking of when they leave him in the cell with the gold, man, the compositing.
Oh my god.
Like, that didn't need to be like green screen right there. They could have just like filmed him actually in a cage and then put the shitty CG gold bars around it.
Well, and like they had a much closer shot of the protagonists in that same room earlier, but because it was so much closer, like they didn't bother like making it special effects or anything. Like it was all practical. Why couldn't they just do that?
I guess they wanted to show the scope of the room, in which
I don't think it really added anything to it. It's like,
I don't either. It felt like they were trying to do a Raiders of the Lost Ark shot,
totally,
like just showing, oh, look how much gold we've got in this room, and this is how small the cage is in comparison. But like,
it's the final shot. They leave him rotting in a cage, and it just pulls back, and you see this gigantic warehouse full of gold, like more gold than has actually ever been mined by humans.
And Forrest Whitaker, who by the way is in this movie. He makes a point to mention. Does he betray John Travolta? Is that what happened?
I think they betray each other like 5 times, and they don't really care. Because this happens throughout the whole movie. They're like, hey, you betrayed me. Oh, that was good. That was just a test. Just kidding. And then they just
you
go
taught
back.
me well.
I trained you well. Yeah.
And then they just go back and forth like that at least 4 times.
So at that point, at the end of the movie, Forrest Whitaker explicitly talks about how he's like, well, you've got what you wanted. You're surrounded by gold, but it's not making you happy. And this movie loves to explain shit like that when it happens. Anytime there's some sort of aha, that's the thing you said, but not what you meant. This movie has to explain it and make sure that you get it. It's It's wink. They might as well wink at the camera.
Any drooling fucking moron would be able to watch this and understand the very obvious overtones and themes. Wait a second.
Well, I don't know if they would, man, because the movie's kind of incoherent as fuck. The editing is, and the pacing. I said earlier that this movie reminds me of Power Rangers. With the quippiness of the cuts and everything. It's really weird, especially in the beginning of the movie. It's breakneck.
Actually, yeah. I mean, I would compare the villains definitely to Power Rangers. That's how overacted it is. They seem like they're fucking Rita and Lord Zed.
And there's a lot of unexplained time jumps. We almost completely skip through that week. We go from the week that they're supposed to be training. We see that they start training, and then all of a sudden we're in the battle. This big, dumb, boring battle scene, and I don't know what the fuck is happening, and I don't care.
It was the same thing happening for 10 minutes. I totally zoned out because it was just people shooting guns for 10 minutes. I was like, oh my god, you could have cut out all of that shit. Who cares?
Yeah, I was really trying to dial in and understand the plot of this the entire time. Anytime that I felt like I missed something, because I don't care about spoilers for this, I brought up a plot summary and was looking through it for reference to see where we were. And by the end, I was I still just don't know.
Yeah,
I kind of know. I understand. It's not a particularly deep or interesting story, but it's just, it's edited so badly, and passage of time is not communicated at all.
There's a couple, it seems like everything's just kind of happening sequentially, and then all of a sudden there's 2 or 3 times during the movie where it just, jumps 2 weeks.
Yeah, the writing is just shallow and so lacking in substance, but it's the presentation that makes it hard to follow.
And speaking of editing, did you guys enjoy that the 20 separate Windows Movie Maker transition site?
God.
It starts from the middle and wipes out, and they use that same transition. Not even exaggerating, 15 times throughout the entire movie?
At least 15. And it's not even a quick transition. It's I think 3 seconds. It makes you again, this is the kind of thing that even I would notice, and I don't normally care about that shit, but it's annoying even to me.
I can only imagine the direction that they gave these actors, because there's one time where we have the guy with the tit chin, and they have one of those obnoxious wipes that just lasts for 3 or 4 seconds, and I can just imagine them telling him okay, hold that expression a little longer. Okay, you're good.
We're almost there.
And he's just what the fuck am I holding this for? And they're oh, we're gonna have wipes. Those wipes from Star Wars that everyone totally loved? We're gonna have those and have them last for 3 seconds.
They were we have got to pad this out. We're gonna catch up another 2 minutes just from editing alone.
The wipes in Star Wars are at least from different sides. And going different directions.
Yeah, they always change.
But this one it's always in the middle, going out. It's never different. Oh my god, I hated it.
Well, it just reminds me of those really long crossfades from older movies, and the thing about editing is it's supposed to be relatively invisible, or good editing is if you're not noticing it, then that's a good sign. But this every 5 seconds I could.
How could you not notice it?
Yeah. Another thing that they kept doing that I picked up on it once, and then it bothered me the entire rest of the viewing, and I hated it, was they would have an angle of something like a tracking shot or a tracking pan of a guy running or a guy on horseback. I think there was horseback. And then they'll digitally punch in on that thing and then digitally zoom out again, within the same shot, and it doesn't... I don't know what the point of that is. Because you're not zooming in from a different angle onto somebody's face, to show that they're in that moment. It's just guy's back, closer in on that guy's back, and then wide out again. Why?
To give me a headache.
And they did that 10 times. That was just as distracting for me as the wipes.
there's a lot of like camera techniques in this movie that like you could pick just one of them, just one technique, and make a drinking game out of it, and you'd probably die, at the end of the movie.
Yeah, take a shot for every single Dutch angle. That's
no,
hey,
that would kill you for sure. Like seriously, like probably at least 90% of the shots in this movie are Dutch angles.
Yeah, like I just don't understand it. I don't understand how this was in theaters, how this had such a huge budget, that Travolta was so personally married to this project.
For years, man.
Like,
But
holy shit, was this a saga.
Out of the 80 million budget, it made like 32 back. How much did it make?
I think it was 32. Let me check. 29.7 million it made back out of its 73.
Yeah,
that's embarrassing.
Apparently, actually, it was claimed to be a $75 million budget, but apparently, Franchise Pictures had inflated the number, and it was actually about 44 million.
That's even worse, because when you think
Travolta make that back.
That means Travolta like produced over 10% of the money himself then, because that's even worse.
Wow.
So it technically did make his money back.
Congratulations, I guess.
I
mean, I doubt that they're funneling that right back to him.
With all the rentals that are coming out, I'm sure they've made it back.
Apparently, the majority, or at least a great chunk of this movie's budget went to Travolta, which, isn't really surprising, but...
I mean, he's like the only... Well, I guess him and Whitaker are like the only major actors in here.
Which is crazy, because the best actor in the movie, I thought anyway, was the guy that played the main character, Johnny Tyler. What's his real name?
Barry Pepper.
I feel like he was the best actor in the movie.
What was with his screams, though? Like, really early in the movie, when he first fires, like, he steals one of the Cyclo's guns from them, and he, like, fires it, and he goes, ah! Like,
they definitely told him to do that. There's no fucking way he came up with that on his own, right?
I wish he had done, like, I wish they had a Helm scream instead, That would have been better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a single Wilhelm scream, much to Wes's chagrin.
That would have made it more entertaining, because we could have been like, ah, instead of what? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, at least then I would have had a feeling like, hey, they might have had some fun making this or writing this, and they would have, it's
but
kind of
yeah,
the point
like, this
of a lot
movie's
of
like,
movies, but no.
This movie's very much trying to be taken seriously.
It's very serious.
And
it's got like this
face.
big dumbass point to make. Again, like the original Planet of the Apes, where they're like, religion shouldn't be the basis of a government. It's like, okay, movie.
I mean, it's just crazy, because you can definitely tell how serious they tried to make it, and it's just so sad. I can just imagine Travolta sitting in the makeup chair. 4 hours goes by. He gets up. He has his Frankenstein boots on. He puts on his Giants salad tossing baseball mitt claw hands that they have on. And then he gets up and looks in the mirror, and he's like, I look so cool. And then they go to film a scene. That happened.
Hell yeah,
that happened 20 years ago.
We're making an iconic piece of cinema history right here.
We're kicking off the millennium right.
Oh my god.
Y2K just happened. We're putting out Battlefield fucking Earth.
Would you rather watch Battlefield Earth or After Earth?
After Earth.
After Earth.
Yeah. It's at least... After Earth is like... I mean, I know I said earlier that this movie's like breakneck, like fast-paced, but it's also like incredibly boring and just nothing happens for so much of it. After Earth is at least like pretty consistently shit's happening,
I can at least follow what's going on there.
Yeah.
Like
And there's
here
shit,
I could sort of follow it, but not.
I think there's more shit to laugh at in After Earth. Like in this, like it's just like, every now and then it's like, that's dumb or that's bad, but like there's a lot of like just droughts of just nothing interesting happening in this movie. And it's 2 hours long. Like there's no need for this movie to be that long.
You didn't find the fact that they had electricity in an underground bunker that's 1,000 years old running interesting?
No.
I don't remember.
I really
that.
didn't.
I'm sorry. I don't remember.
Yeah,
that.
when they found that bunker filled with like Air Force planes, there was also a flight simulator in that for some reason, and it was fully powered. they were going after all their plans and shit and looking at them, and they had lights in the background.
Wait,
Something
and
had electricity.
It's American
they were-
infrastructure, man. It's rock solid.
Wait, so they were flying like United States Armed Forces like planes and fighter jets, right?
Yeah.
That still works after 1,000 years?
Yeah, after his big maniacal plan of getting these humans to mine for him, they're like, we're not mining. He's like running them through like the underground railroad to the fucking Capitol building so they could read these libraries worth of fucking Congress shit, and that somehow makes them patriotic enough to fly fucking fighter jets. Hell yeah.
It's all about heart, man. It's the heart and it's the will to... We're going to take over the home world, or we're going to destroy the home world of the Cyclos.
This Johnny Goodman is like a more important Harriet Tubman.
In the year 3000, yes, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, with his dumb fucking Braveheart hair. Can we talk about everyone, like the human characters? Because my first thought was Troy.
Their hair isn't much better. They have like Jedi braids and just like random knotted up like dreads just spewing about.
And it just looks so obnoxious on him.
Oh, yeah.
There's even like a stupid part where he's, I guess, supposed to be conveying respect to some other guy, but he just like takes a portion of like his bangs and then snips it and gives it to the guy, and I'm like, why?
Like right at the top of his head. Like,
and he looked really grateful too, and they never touched on that ever again.
I thought he was gonna eat the clump of hair. Like he like handed it to the guy, and I thought he was just gonna eat it.
The funniest, the funniest thing with the hair is like at the end when he actually has them all in the cave and they're talking about the plan and what they're gonna do. He takes like his 4 different hairstyles that he has going on and mashes them all together and ties it up, and it just looks really fucking stupid.
Yeah, like for regardless of whether we're talking about the man animals, the humans, or the Cyclos, like the costume design for everyone is just fucking awful. Like they look dumb. They look dopey as shit. Like I mean, like the antagonists have like dopey ass like clown feet. They got like Kingdom Hearts shoes. And these big dopey hands. They look stupid as fuck. I'm like, I don't care if they're like 7 or 10 feet tall. I can take these assholes. Like they look stupid.
When John Travolta first brought his like giant monster hand up, I thought of the Gorn from the original Star Trek in the 60s.
I every time I saw his hands, I thought of Jack from It's Always Sunny and how he's always like wearing fake hands because he's insecure about how small his hands are. That's all I could think of because nothing looks convincing.
Yeah, it looks so awkward when they're using their hands for fucking anything.
Yeah, like especially when they're like pressing buttons and shit. I'm like, how do you not just mash that button? That's why I rarely actually see them press it. It's usually just like you see like their hand move.
Yeah, because their keyboards would be the size of fucking freighters.
Well, that's why they're probably tailor made for the original Xbox controller, which was primed to come out.
Oh,
soon
shut
around
the
that time.
fuck up! Goddamn
You know
Xbox
that those
controllers.
guys fucked with the Duke. Dinner plate ass thing. God, I hate the original Xbox controller. It's such trash.
Oh yeah, it is. Well, don't get all political on us, Justin.
Hot take.
Hot topics here.
Please excuse us, listeners.
Yeah, we could shit on the movie's anti-religious message, but the second I talk about the Duke,
Yeah, those cavemen.
I'm gonna have some death threats.
Those cavemen of 1,000 years turned coat pretty quick, huh?
Yeah,
Like, that was one of the best parts.
bro, those stars are planets.
Come on, bro.
Embrace
He's like, oh, I understand now. But yeah, I don't know. Just everything is just so fucking bad. The makeup, the effects. Did we even touch on the explosion gifs that were playing over most of it?
No, we didn't.
Oh my god, that was
Oh my
Birdemic
God.
level.
It really was. Oh my god. Y'all, listeners. It was so great. Like, it was the best part of the movie. And it only lasted for like 3 seconds. And I wish it had gone on. Does somebody else want to explain it? Yeah.
Well, they're
Better
like
than that
flying
one.
towards Earth, I think, and
Sure.
or like
whatever.
flying towards the area
They're
where
flying.
they're gonna be. Yeah, they're flying. They're in space, and they start picking up like traces of radiation, and there's like these tiny little.
The ship starts like igniting, I guess, like catching fire.
Yeah, there's like little tiny like
sparks.
Sparks or like mini explosions of
Like,
air
really-
in front of them. And John Travolta looks mildly irritated. He's like, well, what the fuck? This is annoying. And they all just, again, the directions just, imagine that there's little explosions around you. So they're just kind of like, it's like there's bees around their face. They just look kind of irritated. And it's these little, God, I swear I could find a template of that. Like, I could find an After Effects template of that and just
It
like
looks
paste
so
that all
bad.
over the place.
It's just like a
Yeah.
1 second GIF of like 5 frames of an explosion, and they just like microsized it and put it all over the spaceship as they were coming
Yeah, they just
down.
copied and
They
pasted
they
it
didn't
everywhere.
care if it like depth or anything. It was just on the screen.
Yeah,
It's
it's just like
astonishing.
on a filter in front of the screen. There's nothing behind the characters. Everything,
there's no-
again,
there's
just
no
like
depth.
Birdemic.
There's no depth to it. It's just in front of them.
Yeah,
Oh, man,
it
it's
looks like
astonishing.
shit. I know this
It's-
is 2000, but holy fuck.
Well,
No, dude,
someone
there was shit that looks way better than this, even before the year 2000. Like,
Like,
this
T2 came out almost a decade before this.
Yeah, like
Terminator
there's
2
no
still
excuse.
looks good.
There's no excuse. Like, I mean, it would have been better to just like, it would have been better if they just didn't have that at all, and instead just had like a radar or like an alarm beep in the ship that was like, "Yeah, radiation detected," and they were like, "Oh shit, that's not good." That would have done the same thing and would have been so much better.
Or, like, shake the ship. Shake the camera and be like, oh, it's causing the ship to, like, destabilize or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
sure.
like anything would have been better than that.
Yeah, like considering how low this movie's budget was, you think they would have tried some shit like that before incorporating so much fucking CG. Like, how much money did that final shot eat up? When we talked earlier about like the temple or the Raiders scene where it zooms out to the warehouse full of gold, every single gold piece, everything in that room was just a CGI room and it looked horrible. How much money was that? Like, versus just filming a fucking real room.
And it was all for nothing, like, because it never looks good and it never looks even mildly convincing, even for the year that it was released. Like, I would have thought this looked like shit. Even in the year 2000, I would have thought this looked like shit. I was 4 years old. I would have been like, what the fuck?
Okay, actually, speaking of all that, the gold bars, this might even be more ridiculous than the explosions. So remember when he was, like, fake mining and he took everyone to the Capitol building to learn and all that? Well, they found the gold bars there and they brought them back and just gave them to John Travolta.
There's so
And-
fucking many. Or they gave
Yeah.
they gave him like half, they said, and they put the rest of them in the caves.
Yeah, and it's gold bars. And then he was like, why is this in gold bars? As anyone would ask. And they're like, he basically just convinced them that they smelted it. And then,
that made
and then,
no
and then he
sense.
believed it. And he was like, oh, well, since you had so much time to smelt this gold, you only have a week to prepare.
And they're just, but like some of the guys are actually mining like raw ore because there's just cliff sides with gold. Sure,
They could keep up appearances. Because
Yeah.
they don't know how many people they sent over there.
but then they
they have spy
went and
cameras
raided
everywhere, but, you
Chase
know.
Bank, I guess, for all their gold.
Yeah, it's established in this lore that they in fact have drones. So why is none of them around to like
Why are these
film
people
any of
not
this shit?
fucking supervised when they're doing
Oh,
like
yeah,
full
and they have-
combat
they have-
training and Travolta's just like,
Well, and they
I'll
also
be
have
back
those-
in a week, motherfucker.
They also established earlier in the movie that they have those like cameras that are like inside the buttons on their shirts. So like, you know, once they had that leverage on them, you know, because at some point he puts like a collar around some girl and he's like, if you don't mine my gold, I'll kill her and it'll blow up. And so he's got that leverage on him, and then he's like, okay, fine, I'll do what you want. I'll mine your gold. And it's like, okay, so why wouldn't you put the camera on him if you're gonna, you know, not be there to
Yeah.
physically supervise him? Like,
And he's supposed
you
to be
have
like
him
the
under
ringleader.
you have him under your thumb now. Why would you not put the camera back on him?
Check your leverage, Harlan.
Sorry.
It's a matter of leverage.
How many times did this movie blatantly rip off The Matrix?
At least
That was the only
twice.
time that was the only time that it looked interesting. You know, when he's like running past all those pillars and getting shot at.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a slow motion side shot of him running through pillars as they're getting shot up a year after The Matrix came out.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
exact
Huh.
thought
Like-
process. I was like, "This looks kind of cool." Wait, the fuck! This is the lobby scene.
Oh, you
Yeah,
scamps.
like it couldn't be more obvious, like couldn't be more blatant of a ripoff. And like same thing, Justin. I was like, yeah, that looks okay, and I was like, oh, that's from the Matrix.
Any cinematic elements that were halfway cool were fucking stolen.
It's like that was stolen from a good movie. You made me think about a good movie.
The greatest sin of all, making me wish I was watching something else, specifically something else.
That started very early on for me.
I remember these two were like 2 minutes in. They're like, "This is bad."
Well, I think like from the get go, I was confused because like like we the title card, like it was pretty uneventful. It was just like Earth, and then it was just like Battlefield Earth, and then it had like a subtitle. I think it said like
The Saga of the Year 3000.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, is that the subtitle? It's Battlefield Earth Saga of the Year 3000. Like,
Yeah,
that was confusing.
the year 3000. Jesus Christ.
A lot can happen over 1,000 years.
To the year 3000. Not much has changed, but we mine gold for cyclos.
So do you have any other thoughts on Battlefield Earth?
I hate it.
What would you rate this out of 10?
2. I feel pretty comfortable saying
Actually,
2.
yeah. This is going to be my lowest rating so far, which is also
This is the worst
a 2.
movie we've seen.
It's a 2.
I was going to give it a 1.5. I could round up to a 2.
Yeah.
Because as much as you want to give it a 0, you got to give a little point to Travolta. Like, his heart was definitely in it.
So
and
was
it's
it
kind of
like-
just kind of
Well, okay, so I guess that's our chance to segue into our portion where we challenge each other to say something nice about the movie.
and this
like
is the hardest
legitimately
thing.
nice and not some backhanded compliment. Like, well, the credits were good.
I have to come up with something legitimately good. You guys suck.
And I
Okay.
can't say something like, oh, it was in focus or it was in color.
All right,
Sounds
I'm very
those are the
tempted.
rules.
Oh wait, speaking of, before we get into that, what was with the lighting? Like there were a lot of points that you pointed out, Justin, where like the lighting would change from shot to shot for no
Yep.
reason. Like very early on, like when our protagonist gets jumped by some dude that we don't even see, like all's good. They're just like hanging out in a room, and then all of a sudden you hear a gunshot and it's like dark green for no
Yeah.
reason. Like
The color grading goes back and forth from browns to greens, and it'll be shot to shot. It only
Yeah.
happens a couple times, but it was where it was enough to where I was like, what the fuck? That's very jarring. Just like
So, like-
everything else
well,
with
specifically
this, it's
any-
atrocious to look at.
Specifically
in
in the
that-
scene, they're like in the Capitol building. Like, it seems to change every single shot.
Yeah, that's the weirdest part, because like in the scene I just talked about, like I guess I can infer, maybe it happened and I just missed it. I can infer that the guy that was attacking him like shot a light bulb or something. I don't know, and like we're seeing with night vision. I guess I don't know. I'm trying to give the
You're
movie some
putting
credit
more
here.
logic into this than they did.
Yeah, but like when he's like reading the Declaration of Independence and shit, like it's just like it's a library with lots of brown colors, like the bookshelves and then the floor and shit, like lots of browns, and then it's just green for some reason, like there's a green hue, and then it's back to brown like a second later. It's really weird. I didn't want to leave that out. I just thought we should talk about that, but
No, that's fair. That was Jesus Christ, this movie.
It was great. So, speaking of how great it was, Justin, what was the most redeemable or good thing you could say about this movie?
I mean, Barry Pepper was okay. Like, I don't know. I'm legitimately struggling to think of things that I liked about this because I was
Me
pretty
too.
much. It was like passing a kidney stone from beginning to end. I like
least-
the ads that Crackle gave me at first.
that's something I wrote down on my notes because we watched this on Crackle, so we had like 8 ads throughout the whole movie, and I wrote down at some point that watching, this is a 2-hour movie, I wrote down that watching 2 hours of consecutive unrelated ads would have been more entertaining.
Is that your good thing?
No.
I think it's as shitty as like the sets look, and like the green screens and the compositing and all that shit. It all looks terrible, but at least there's like a coherent. I have a coherent idea of what the environment is like, I guess. Yeah, I would say that. Like,
That's fair.
I had a solid idea of what the world was like.
Yeah, like it establishes the environment fairly well. I mean,
Yeah.
Travolta's fun. He's bad, but he's fun. Like,
Yeah.
if I have to give something that I thought was entertaining, like, every time he was on screen, it was funny.
Yeah.
He just overacts and just chews the fucking set so hard. It's hard not to be entertained by him, for sure.
But not for the right reasons. He's trying to be serious.
Yeah, which I guess is not a good thing. So
Yeah.
what else you got? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, well, yeah, that does kind of go against the rule I just set up, right? Of, like, no backhanded compliments. But, yeah, like Harlan said, everything looks very consistent, at least. So, I mean,
Yeah, it's like
the
consistently
costumes,
bad,
the costumes match up with the environments.
Yeah.
And, like, all the humans, they have, like, a very distinct look to them.
Yeah. I would say the world is, like, consistent.
I can say that as well. I guess my one backhanded thing was at least this had no fucking Wilhelm scream in it. That was a plus. That was for sure. And like I was saying before, like, I guess it's cool that John Travolta cared about this so much that he got it made. It had a lot of heart in it. It was just done really, really
It was a passion project.
Yeah, it was I mean, honestly, it's weird to say that. It was a passion project, but it was. And so I guess you got to give it some marks for that. At least he tried.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point.
Should we get into some trivia? I have a few trivia.
Oh yes, trivia
factoids.
hour with Harlan here.
I'd
Holy
like to.
yes.
Oh yeah, we should have another little theme for this.
We're good.
That's it. There you go.
We really don't.
Okay, so first one I got. The film cinematographer has gone on record as saying that his overuse of color filters and Dutch angles wasn't his idea, and also that he was given the smallest lighting budget he had ever worked with.
I can tell.
That checks out.
It checks out.
It doesn't say whose idea it was to have all the Dutch angles. I'd like to know, but it wasn't the cinematographer.
I mean, I'm assuming that's a director move. I can't imagine that would be like a producer thing.
I don't even think Travolta would have suggested anything like that. I don't know who would.
Oh, you know what? You know what? It is, but that actually ties into one of my other trivia factoids that's coming up later. Okay, so you'll get a kick out of this. John Travolta initially offered the director's seat to Quentin Tarantino, who declined.
That I actually did know.
What? Wow, I wonder why.
Okay, so I'd like to know, do you guys think that Quentin Tarantino could have made this a good movie?
This is
maybe-
so far removed from anything else that because Quentin Tarantino does stuff that he likes to do and stuff that he has influence in. Like, every single one of his movies it's a callback to the stuff that he grew up liking and grew up watching. This doesn't fit his wheelhouse at all.
That's true, because like Tarantino's wrote a few movies that he didn't direct, but he never directs a movie that he doesn't write. So if he was going to do this one, then he would have had to have written it, and I guess really it would just be based on how good the source material is.
Yeah.
He doesn't make like action movies.
He doesn't make sci-fi movies in particular. He likes westerns, but I mean,
Yeah.
and samurai shit. But like, I don't think I could see Tarantino making a space movie. His movies are too dialogue heavy and interesting from a character perspective to make like a mindless sci-fi movie.
And good.
Yeah.
Like, I can only imagine him sitting down with Travolta and being like, dude, I brought your career back for this?
You used the money I paid you.
Like, I made you
For
relevant again, as what Tarantino does. He takes, like, these has-beens and makes them interesting again, and you piss it away with this?
Yeah, has he been in anything good since?
It's like, you weren't good since Welcome Back Kotter, and I'm bringing you back, and then you make Battlefield Earth?
Okay, a guilty pleasure of mine is From Paris with Love. I think it came out in like 2010, 2012, something like that. That was a solid John Travolta action movie. I will say that.
I doubt it.
I mean, I never saw Face Off
We do have very different tastes.
with
but-
your other favorite actor of Nicolas Cage.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
we'll get to it one day.
All right. Almost every shot in the film is at a Dutch angle because, according to the director Roger Christian, he wanted the film to look like a comic book. What?
I don't think every panel of a comic book looks like that, my dude.
Yeah, like how?
If he wanted it to look like a comic book, then he should have had it color graded flat as fuck in every shot.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I there's not a single shot in this movie that reminded me of any panel in a comic book. I read a lot of comic books. Like,
I have 500 comic books in my closet right now, and none of them look like that.
I've read over 500 issues of Amazing Spider-Man as of this week. Like, nothing reminded me of any comic book I've ever seen. I don't know where the hell he got that from.
No, this is like as
Jesus Christ.
joyless as you could possibly get. Like, it's not striking, it's not visually interesting. Like, there were better and more stylized science fiction movies previous and after.
Yeah.
Like, Alien looked more like a comic book than this. Not that Alien looked like a comic book, but Alien at least had a distinct style. This didn't have anything except for the Captain Dickheads walking around.
Yeah.
Is there any more juicy trivia for us?
I got one more.
All right.
It's a short one. Screenwriter J.D. Shapiro admitted that he got involved in the movie at first because he had read that the Scientology Celebrity Center in L.A. was, quote, a great place to pick up women.
My man.
All right. Well,
Imagine
what
writing.
you will.
Imagine writing Battlefield Earth for pussy.
Do you think it worked?
I mean,
I don't think I've ever done anything that grievous for pussy.
hey baby, this made back half of its budget.
Hey, now. It made
This
back
was
like
in
a third
theaters
of its
for
budget.
2 weeks.
It probably was in theaters for like a month. Things were different back then.
I can't believe that. This really did feel like a sci-fi original movie.
Well, I think I would rather watch those. I would rather watch an Asylum movie than this ever again. But I'm glad I got to share it with you guys. I'm glad it was
fuck
the
you too,
worst.
Wes.
I'm glad it was the worst movie on the podcast, and probably will be for a long time.
Yeah, I'm as happy as a pig in shit.
I'm anxiously waiting to see who's going to dethrone me, and will it be next week? What's next week's movie, Justin?
Next week is going to be She Hate Me, a 2004 from Spike Lee, starring Anthony Mackie, Kerry Washington, and Ellen Barkin.
I have never
I
heard
hate
of this.
you.
I watched this in a film class, and it was shitty. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait. I have I have no idea what it is. I've never heard of it, but we're gonna go at this bitch.
We out here.
All right. Well, you guys have anything else you want to add to Battlefield Earth?
Well, I got a shit, so that'll
never
take
want
care
to
of
think
that.
about it. I never want to think about it again. I want to say, just closing out, that this is absolutely not one of those movies you can watch with your buddies while drinking. Like, even that would not make this enjoyable.
This
sucks.
is boring.
It
shitty.
would make it
Yeah,
enjoyable.
don't watch it.
Don't
Don't watch
listen to them. Watch it right now with all of your friends. Call 10 of your best friends over right now. Have
Do you
them
have some
watch
sort
it.
of like financial stake in this movie? Like,
I don't, but for some reason, the more I hear you guys bitch about it, the more it fuels me.
Are you
And
trying to reopen the economy, Wes?
With Battlefield Earth, I'm going to reproduce it, re-release it, and
No,
I'm
he's
going
doing it
to
responsibly.
single-handedly start America's economy back.
I mean, at the time of this recording, we're a couple days away from where the governor of Georgia is reopening movie theaters. Do you think they should rechristen the silver screen with Battlefield Earth?
yeah, that'd keep people away.
Give me-
That'd be a good way to
That's the
practice
only thing
social
they play?
distancing.
All right, listen, give me all the
Nobody
original
fucking
shots. I'm going to re-edit this thing. We're going to release it. It's going to be a global fucking smash, and everyone's going to love it. We're going to re-stimulate the economy, and everything's going to be great. Thank you, Battlefield Earth.
I somehow don't believe that to be true.
It's going to be true. All right, we'll see you next week, guys.
See you next week.
Thanks, bye.
You're trash, bro.
I need a second, okay? Why can't anybody give me a goddamn second?
Hold on. You dig on multiverses?
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Cover my eyes!
That's it. What, we some kind of
B-roll boys.